In 1933, Susan Stebbing became the first woman in Britain to be appointed to a professorship in philosophy at Bedford College, which is now part of Royal Holloway. And at the time, that was national news. It was very rare for women to be doing philosophy at all, let alone becoming professors of philosophy. And I think more people today should know about Susan Stebbing, who she was and what she did. For that reason, I've applied for English Heritage to put a blue plaque on her home in Belsize Park in London. Prior to becoming a professor, Stebbing studied at Girton College in Cambridge. She then did a master's in London, and she made her name in philosophy doing specialist work in logic and metaphysics, so kind of very serious technical philosophy. But later in her career, she wrote several books aimed at a wide public audience. Probably her best known book was a book called Thinking to Some Purpose, which was a nice little blue Pelican edition. And Thinking to Some Purpose was published in 1939, a year before the outbreak of the Second World War. And in that book, Stebbing argued that if we could learn to think clearly, and this phrase, think clearly, is one that comes up a lot across Stebbing's writing, then that would help us to see through propaganda, political spin, journalism, where opinions and feelings are disguised as facts. And so philosophy, Stebbing argued, was key to quite literally, in her view, saving democracy. What were her key ideas? Across her writings, Stebbing argued that all of us, from philosophers in Oxford and Cambridge to the soldiers in the trenches, have the ability to think clearly. What she means by that is that we all, perhaps naturally, have the ability to work out what we should believe and what we shouldn't believe, and who we should be persuaded by or convinced by, and who we shouldn't be persuaded by and convinced by. And again, the backdrop of what was going on in Europe in the build-up to the Second World War is important here. But Stebbing's view was that everyday life presents many barriers to clear thinking. So, for example, she says, advertising corporations are trying to get us to buy their products, or these days, they're trying to get data from us. Politicians play on our emotions, and journalists disguise opinions as facts. Philosophy, Stebbing argues, can provide an antidote to this. That is, so long as it is unleashed in the wild and not confined to the ivory towers of universities. Why is Stebbing important today? I think there's lots of reasons why Susan Stebbing is important today, but just to give you two. First of all, Stebbing was a trailblazer. So, first woman in Britain to be a philosophy professor in an environment, a professional and academic environment that was hostile and inhospitable to women. To give you an example of that, she once applied for a chair in Cambridge, a professorship. But she was told by a colleague, everybody thinks you're the right person for the job, except that you're a woman. The position ended up going to Ludwig Wittgenstein, who went on to become a household name in philosophy. Second reason that I think Stebbing is important. Her ideas about critical thinking and clear thinking are just as relevant today as they were in 1939. So I helped Routledge produce a new edition of Thinking to Some Purpose, and I think that that's just as important to read as it was prior to the Second World War. It's a must-read, in my opinion, for anyone interested in why the tools of philosophy, things like logical reasoning, detecting fallacies, balancing evidence with belief, are important in everyday life.